All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. This week we're doing basically like a rundown on, some of the things that it entails being a diesel mechanic. I've been doing diesel tech work for about 14 years now. I'm 29 and I started in my teen years with my dad. So this video is pretty much dedicated to explaining some of the things you get into in diesel mechanics, right? Some of the obstacles you'll face becoming and getting into diesel mechanics. Some of the things too of becoming a expert level diesel technician. You're either wanting to work as a diesel tech somewhere or you're going to work on your own trucks. I'll share some of the things that I face as a diesel technician, mechanic. I'm gonna use them both. Whatever feels natural, all right? If you're mad at me, just deal with it. Because yeah, there are some challenges you run into with, working on these trucks. I'll just throw out a few things right now. The quality of parts. We just built this engine, or we just assembled this engine. We didn't build it. Brand new engine, new fuel system, all new parts, new fluids, new filters, new everything. And the brand new turbos with 500 miles on them exploded. Parts quality and quality control, pretty much non-existent at this point in time. I mean, there's certain companies we have had minimal issues with. I'll give a shout out to some. Fleece Performance Engineering. You guys are doing a great job. Hardly any issues with your products. Fantastic results with your turbochargers, your drain tubes, your coolant bypasses. I mean, I can make a long list of products. We love your products, right? And your tech support, fantastic. You didn't call us an idiot, not like other brands. Excuse me, and I'm on tech support. I do this every day for a living. You're gonna call me an idiot. It's kind of insulting that you say, I don't know the difference between inch pounds and foot pounds. Quality control, tech support. I'm gonna stop there before I go on a rant about the people that you guys are hiring to talk to us expert level technicians, and they don't know the difference between a paper clip and a safety pin. Now I went on a rant, I don't know what I was talking about. Turbos. Yeah, so the turbos failed on this truck. We're running into issues with quality control. That's one thing. The other side of the spectrum, we deal with the owners of the vehicles, right? That's a big challenge. Not as much as something you're going to run into with being someone that's just an enthusiast working on their own truck or being a diesel tech. The guys that work here, they don't have to deal with the owners of the trucks. We're not going into that today. We're gonna talk about what it means to be a diesel mechanic and what's involved, right? So first thing I wanna start with is diagnostics, being thorough with your diagnostics. Even if you're a DIY guy at home, doing this yourself at home is pretty difficult for the diagnostic side of things. And I get texts and calls all the day. So here, I'll read you a text message. I don't even know who this is. He sends me a video of his 6.4. It's misfiring and smoking. It's a 6.4 power stroke, right? I consider myself a 6.4 expert. I love them. I own 2 of them. And all he said was, do you know what is problem with it? Exact words. I couldn't really tell from the video. I had a slight misfire. This is what you're gonna deal with, right? Customer comes in and says, hey, what's wrong with it? And like we just had another 6.4 towed in today. First thing he's like, hey, what's wrong with my truck? I have to diagnose it. If it has blow-by, then it's probably low compression on a cylinder. Reasonable, it's a 6.4, they all have blow-by. If it's just the smoke, no blow-by, I would say fuel injector has gone bad. And he responds a couple hours later, how much would it cost? I just said, depends on what it is, my man. He said, how much for change injector? I have injector. I said, which cylinder is it? He said, all. So you have a misfire, so you just want to, boom, shotgun, a full set of injectors on it. And I'm like, all right, so I said $2,000. He said, I have 8 injector. Still 2,000? Question mark. I said, yes, that's correct. The labor is 8 hours plus tax, so you'd be $1,670. The reason it's 2,000, let me explain to you. May need new glow plug harnesses since they're normally extremely brittle. Very common. You pull the glow plug harnesses out, they break. Right? I'm not gonna put broken glow plug harnesses back in there, about 100 a piece. So I said that'd bring you to $1,870. Do you have new valve cover gaskets? They're recommended to be replaced. And an oil change, when you have bad injectors, you get high fuel dilution because they're overfueling, like your truck is, because it's smoking out the tailpipe. That's probably fuel. Or it could be oil, could be blow-by. He already bought injectors. He didn't even diagnose it. So you should change the oil at the same time so you don't deal with lubrication issues, right? We do the job right. All in, you're around 2,000 for a complete job. If you bring me all those other items that I just listed, you'd be 1,670 total. And then he said, can you check for me which injector is not working? Do you have diagnostic? I said, yes, we can do a diagnostic for you. How much diagnostic? $195. And he gave me the awesome thumbs up. The reason I share that with you, that's what I deal with on a very regular basis, that people don't want to pay for diagnostics. People don't want you to be thorough. They want you to just throw parts at their truck and then they have something to be upset about. I don't throw parts at trucks. I would rather do a diagnostic process. Like even this truck, this one came in, low power, major exhaust leak from the manifold, which I'll show you briefly. David was driving it real quick before we work on the truck. He said, man, it sounds like it has a boost leak. I break out my old handy dandy turbo system leak detector, right? So I'm not charging him for this, by the way. This is just me being thorough. Being a diesel mechanic, you have to be thorough. That's all I'm trying. That's why I'm going through all this, and why we charge extra to be thorough, because I don't want to see you again anytime soon. You can come back 10 times in a year and I'll take your money, but I don't want you to be mad at me when you tell me, like this guy that was texting me, if I said, yeah, come bring your truck down, I'll throw injectors in it, I whack injectors in it, and it's got a cracked piston. Who's the enemy then? It's gonna be me, because I put injectors in it and didn't fix the truck, even though he told me to throw injectors in it. On this truck, we grabbed the boost leak detector. I pressurized the charge air system, 20 PSI, 25 PSI, holding perfect, right? So I know we don't have any boost tube leaks. It's all on the exhaust side. What do I find? Mind you, this guy he just did a bunch of work on his own truck. Number one, he broke his CCV tube. So this tube that connects the CCV, the crankcase vent, to the intake, and that then led, it's kind of hard to see in the picture, but the whole inside of the intake was just coated in dirt and dust, right? What's that gonna do? Well, I just put this used turbo on his truck not too long ago, and if that turbo blew, guess who would have got blamed? Me. Man, I feel like this is turning into a rant video.
I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
No, I love
But
this.
I'm gonna keep going because I really don't care.
Do it.
Now, the reason why this was broken, I put this turbo on. I would never let a truck leave like that with it broken, right? He put his own oil cooler on it because he didn't like my price. It was like 1,800 bucks. I didn't even want to do an oil cooler on this truck because it's got blown heads. So the oil cooler is gonna keep getting clogged over and over. Broken CCV tube. Second thing, I think he put a new thermostat in it. He left his EBP tube completely disconnected. Now, mind you, that's connected to his exhaust manifold, which then that is what drives the turbo to make turbo boost. Right, so he's complaining low power. Well, he's got a gaping hole in his exhaust system. Not to mention that his exhaust manifold was leaking profusely from multiple locations, and the up pipe where it meets the up pipe was leaking terribly, right? This thing was just rusted. And I guess that gets into another part of the bad part of being a diesel mechanic, is you have to deal with rust and bolt extractions. We put all new bolts and spacers on this 6.0, but this one, every single bolt, they're 10 millimeter bolts. They were all worn down to like 9 millimeter. They were so eroded and corroded. I mean, I've had worse ones. We had a 7.3 come in a long time ago. They're 13 millimeter bolts, and I could fit a 10 millimeter extractor socket on them. It was wild. Like, that was the worst one I think I've ever dealt with. That's just something else that you have to deal with being a diesel mechanic, is the skill and ability to extract bolts, to be able to, I mean, diesels generate a lot of heat and pressure, and being able to extract bolts and not damage components. Like, actually, I was able to extract all these bolts out the head without breaking any of them off in the head. But I have had some snap off flush in the head or come in missing bolts. You have to be able to do that. A-level tech, expert level diesel tech, you have to be able to do a complete job and not rely on other people to be able to do the job for you. So that's something else, you know, you're gonna deal with being a diesel technician, is just rust, corrosion, like something we see on the Duramax, LMM, LML, injector hold down bolt, 6.7 power stroke also a problem, because the heads are aluminum, but they pass through an aluminum rocker housing with a steel bolt. Aluminum on steel causes some oxidation, and those things will be locked solid in there. And you're gonna have to deal with that. You're gonna have to get those out. Very commonly, especially being here in Ohio, being in the rust belt, as they say, we deal with a lot of rust and corrosion. What are some things required to be a diesel mechanic? It's kind of odd. I feel like the technician mechanic industry, the automotive industry, is actually one of the last industries you don't need a certification to be a mechanic, right? To be an electrician, to be a certified electrician and do installs and get things inspected, you have to have certifications to do so. You don't need certifications to be a mechanic. To be a technician, you do need certifications. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I haven't been certified up until like 5 years ago. Like, I worked with my dad for years and years and years, learned a lot from him. I never had any certifications or anything of that sort. Yeah, not until I started working on my own, be a little bit more professional. And I've never once had someone ask me, hey, are you certified as a tech? No. Can you fix my truck? That's what people care about, right? So at the end of the day, it is experience and familiarity with trucks. The way I started was just from disassembly. You know, he would have me tear an engine down, pull heads off, or pull valve covers off, or pull a turbo. He would put it back together and I would help him. And that's how I learned. Now, I really started to excel when I started working more independently and trying to figure things out on my own. The downside is I started breaking and damaging a lot of crap, and I had to fix my own mistakes at my expense. Something I was notorious for doing on 6 liters were these stinking map sensors. I'm sure some of you guys have dealt with this before. You go to pull the map sensor hose off of the intake manifold, it pops off because they sometimes get real dry and brittle and stuck on there. But I would go to pull it off and it'd go whack, and I would snap it off of here, and I'd break the little nipple right off of the map sensor. After I think the second or third one, my dad was like, hey, anyone you break from here forward is coming out of your paycheck. Started being a lot more careful. You know, another aspect is just to be careful and be aware of other things in the engine bay. Routing of hoses, routing of harnesses, you know, locations of components, the way things sit. They are very detailed and very important. You know, you could take a charge pipe clamp off and put it on at a different angle, and it could be rubbing up against an AC line. Very common, I see that on these lower intercooler hot side pipes on a 6 liter. You have it facing the wrong way and it's rubbing it up against something, well, that's gonna cause a problem because diesels vibrate a lot. So just being aware other components, you take something apart, compare things with your new part before you reinstall them. Make sure they line up, make sure they look correct, get good quality parts. Quality control is very minimal, very non-existent, but you know, if you are using aftermarket parts, make sure they line up, make sure they work right. We had a guy a long time ago, he put a water pump on his 6 liter and the truck was overheating after the brand new water pump still. Late 2003, they switched to a larger, it was a 100 millimeter water pump instead of the 90 millimeter water pump. So it was just spinning in there and it wasn't really moving any coolant through the engine. Just a basic thing, he could have literally held them up to each other, compared them, you know, being aware of what he's putting on the truck. Wouldn't have had to pay me, you know, $300 to swap out a second water pump. So that's one big thing. Be aware of what you're working on. Something I always tell the guys is if you're having to really force something into something, probably not the right part. It's probably not lined up properly. It's, you know, there's going to be something that's just a little bit off. You can cause more problems working on your truck, fixing one thing, and you put something back in the incorrect position. Another thing it requires, being a technician, is just to be organized. We try and keep things very organized here. The shop does get a mess every once in a while, but we try and keep things in, you know, their designated positions. I've been in shops where, you know, you come up to the toolbox and it's just a pile of sockets and wrenches and tools. I mean, yeah, I'll have like right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tools that aren't organized because I just picked them up off the floor and put them up here because apparently I can't talk and put away tools at the same time. But being organized is very important as a diesel mechanic. Knowing where your tools were at, huge thing with why socket organizers and holders are so important. If I finish a job and I'm missing these 3 sockets, I'm not letting this truck leave till these 3 sockets are back in their hole, because those sockets could be in that engine bay. And you might think, it'll just fall off on the ground. Well, no. I mean, it could be, this is silly, but like it could be in an intake port, right? And it could get sucked into the turbo and blow the turbo. Well, then that costs the customer a bunch of downtime and that cost me a bunch of money. You know, if you lost a bolt on this truck, you know, it didn't hit the ground, it's still in the engine bay, you can't just go grab a new one. You have to find it. That's actually like a shop policy here. Man, I lost this bolt one time. It took me 2 hours to find it. I don't even know how it got where it was. It was just like I dropped a bolt up here near the intake manifold and it was sitting down near the cam sensor. It wouldn't have hurt anything, but it was just, right, being thorough, being organized. You know, you can bag your bolts if you can't keep a memory of laying them out. Something we use here at the shop are these like silicone trays. You know, you can have little bolt organizers as you take things off, you set them out, make sure they get put back on the truck in order. Another thing is cleanliness. trucks, they're very dirty. This is after I cleaned up, by the way. Now, here at the shop, we have many ways of cleaning parts. I'll show you. Like, this doesn't apply for you DIY guys, but fortunately here, we're able to load our parts into this heated parts washer 20 minutes later and they look brand new. Like all these parts, for example, we pulled off of an engine. So like on this truck, after cleaning it, it was all caked in oil. We found that there were some grooves in the front cover, and the front cover needed replaced or sent out to be repaired. You know, when things are going back together, knowing what you're looking at or knowing what is okay and not okay, just being thorough and clean is a real big deal, especially like if we're talking about common rail fuel systems. You have a truck with a high pressure fuel pump, tight tolerances inside of these pumps. So if you're introducing all this dirt and junk and whatever grime and grease inside of this system, you're now introducing contamination that could cause a lot of damage to the engine. It might not happen right away. You finish the truck and it's good for 1,000 miles, and then you start having low rail pressure because you introduced some contamination into the system, or you get a misfire. Brand new parts out of the box. We had a set of cylinder heads shipped in. Some of the intake manifold bolt ports were still full of some debris. Now, I don't know if that was just from packing and shipping or what, but even on brand new components, be thorough, make sure they're clean as well. Mating surfaces, make sure they have a good finish, machined finish, and not any imperfections. Just really being thorough and clean in your assembly. That's something else that's really important. The other part of diesel mechanics is taking care of your body too. A lot of diesel engine components are very heavy. They have a lot of sharp edges, so just being careful, also taking care of yourself. So that's why certain things we've got here in the shop, this parts washer, something we can load up a dirty, greasy part. We don't have to be standing there with a solvent-based scrub brush for hours, breathing in all these fumes, and then having things, like a cherry picker, engine hoist, where we even use those to pull cylinder heads. I mean, obviously you have to use it to pull an engine. You ain't picking that up by hand. But just, things that you can do to be a little more careful and less wear and tear on your body. Also, you have to have a level of mechanical inclination. There's something I call just like having the mechanic's touch. There's certain fasteners you're gonna use a small 1/4-inch drive tool on, and then there's gonna be tools you need, a 1/2-inch drive. I had a buddy whose name shall not be mentioned, but there will be some people who know who I'm talking about. He was putting some 8mm hose clamps on a truck with a 1/2-inch Milwaukee. I'll show you his setup he had. He had the 1/2-inch Milwaukee dropped down to a 3/8, and then he dropped it down again to a 1/4-inch. And then he took an 8mm socket, and he was tightening a radiator hose clamp with this. And I look over and he's over there to a hose clamp. I was like, what are you doing? I guess just having common sense and just knowing, if you're putting a fastener in, it's starting to bind up or it's not going in smooth. If it came out smooth, it should go back in smooth, right? So what does that mean? You probably either have some debris in the hole or you're cross-threading it. Fastener is damaged, right? Or it's the wrong thread size. Thinking things through, making sure you're not just ripping things back together.
What would you say is the baseline tools you need to be a diesel mechanic? Absolute basics, bare minimum.
I would get a good torque wrench, or not even a good torque wrench, just a torque wrench in general. You need to be able to make sure, there's a lot of things that call for specific torque specifications. So like I started with this Craftsman one. This was old trusty. I think it was at the time $69 or $79 from Lowe's. So torque wrench would be the first thing. If we're talking a $500 budget on a toolbox, then I would say tool sets like this. Now, something I always tell people, when you're buying sockets for working on trucks and things of that sort, get 6-point. You can do, I'm sure there's a billion YouTube videos out about it, but don't try and use a 12-point socket on a 6-point fastener. 12-point sockets for 12-point fasteners, in my opinion. Some people probably want to argue with me about that. Even if you're getting cheaper quality, get 6-point, much better. But yeah, just your basic 1/4-inch drive set, 3/8 drive set, 1/2-inch set. I mean, that's kind of your entry level. Me personally, the first brand name tool I bought was a Snap-on 3/8 ratchet. This gear wrench set has lasted me almost 10 years and they still all work. So I think that's a testament. They're pretty good quality. These are just a flex head ratcheting wrench, so you can get various angles and very low profile access. Not too expensive. I think that entire flex head set might be 60 bucks. This whole plier set, this is just a good entry level plier set. I think $90 on Amazon. If you're doing diesel work, you're gonna need a set of Torx bits. I think this was like 30 bucks. Comes with all your Torx bits all the way up to a T40. Now, if you're working on 6.0s, you're gonna need, or 6.4s, you're gonna need a T45 as well, because injector hold downs on some of them are T45, not T40, but you can buy those as a set on Amazon as well. But I would say pliers, pry bar set, you'll need your general socket service sets, 1/4 inch, 3/8, 1/2 inch. You will need a breaker bar. This Craftsman set is actually pretty decent because it comes with a lot of that. It comes with your full set of Allen sockets. It comes with your Torx sockets. Again, you don't need snap-on, but you need a pick set for replacing O-rings and seals. Only thing I always warn people though, with your sharp edges like this, with these picks, you can actually damage a seal. Most times, like on injectors, I just use my hands to roll them on. You don't necessarily always need a pick to reinstall a seal. You can just use your hands. You don't really need power tools because those get really expensive really fast. You can do everything by hand. Power tools just kind of speed the job up. Again, you don't need snap-on, but you're just Phillips and flathead screwdrivers, various size. And then I said, like, as far as specialty tools go, because like there's endless specialty tools that you could buy. And I would say if you're trying to be an enthusiast or you're new to working on diesels, just buy them as the job comes. Like, I didn't buy all this whole rack in one go. You know, you could, and I still don't have every possible tool. Yeah, I think that covers the tools aspect. I mean, yeah, you're gonna need hammers, you're gonna need, you know, a variety of ratchets and wrenches and pry bars, right? But I think that covers your basics to get you started. I will say, I mean, maybe one last thing on, you know, being a good diesel mechanic, diesel technician, getting better at what you do, you have to have a desire to want to learn. Even me, like, I still am learning more, finding new creative ways to diagnose and test trucks. I've been doing this for right around 14 years, and there's still things that I'm learning, and I've learned from other technicians and other shops and videos that I've come across in diagnostics, trying to get better at what I do. What's a good part look like and what's the bad part look like, so that you see something, you're not just like, oh, well, that's fine, that's how it came apart. Well, it could be damaged and you don't even know it. If something looks suspicious, look up what it's supposed to look like, or ask someone who you think might know, have a good answer, or call me and be like, hey, is my rocker arm supposed to have a crack in it? And I'd say, no, it's not. So, you know, just certain things that will take time is learning all the individual ins and outs of the various diesel mechanics. You're getting more and more and more electronics. So if you're gonna be a diesel enthusiast in, you know, 2025, and you're working on these newer trucks, you're going to have to become very familiar with electronic systems. Oh, I guess that comes also too, if you're gonna be really digging into some diesel work, you're gonna need a good quality scan tool. At a minimum, I would get a cheap bi-directional scanner. You have to have a scan tool that can read live data. I lose track of how many people call me, or my truck won't start. I'm like, well, what codes do you have? They're like, oh, it's an ICP code. What's it building? Oh, it's not building any oil pressure. Or what's your ICP sensor read? I'll ask them that question, and at that point I'll know if I can help them try and diagnose it themselves or not. If they say, oh, how do I do that? Oh, my oil pressure gauge isn't coming up on my dash, you know, or my oil pressure's up on my dash, but it's not starting. I'm like, well, you need to have a scanner. You can't be a know-it-all either. Let's say you figured out one issue on a truck, that doesn't then make you a guru on every truck you work on moving there forward. Or when you come and you say, this is what Google said, well, Google AI probably isn't right about a 6.0 power stroke. So if you fix one or two trucks, still go into the next one with an open mind to learn something. We've had some trucks come in even recently, like I'll see something that I've never seen before. We had a truck, it was a 2017. Here's the customer complaint. Customer said, anytime I turn my defrost on, my truck gets stuck in 5th gear. My transmission, like his transmission, he said it, and I was like, bull crap, there's no way he's gonna make that happen. I hop in the truck with him, he throws it in dry. We pull out onto River Road, back over the hill, clicks it in the defrost, and you hear, poof, and The truck's stuck in 5th gear.
What?
And even when he comes to a stop, it still stays in 5th gear. It's throwing the transmission in limp mode. And so he asked me, can you fix this? I was like, I will do my best. If I don't fix it, I'm not gonna charge you. But the reason I said that was because I genuinely wanted to know what it was. Like, that was just insane to me. I mean, it took me 7 hours to find the problem. The transmission control module was not properly grounded. Usually these have a plastic little holder, and this you can use to bolt to a truck, right? What he did, the ground wire for the TCM, which is right here on a 2017 F-250, he ran the bolt through that, which you're like, well, that's no big deal. It couldn't ground out because he put the terminal on the plastic side. He had his nephew or something put some lights on his truck, and he used that as a mount point for the relay. So he took the bolt off, then he puts this on, then he puts the terminal, and then he bolts it back. And since it was plastic is non-conductive. So literally all I did, I took it off, I just set the relay aside, I bolted it back up, and it worked perfect. It's been fine ever since.
That's crazy.
I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I'd never come across that before, and I was like, this is insane. That truck was funny, actually. Well, this is totally unrelated, but it comes in, and the entire underside of the truck is just completely soaked in oil. Like, bad. Dude, do you have a major oil leak somewhere? He's like, oh no, I did that myself. I was like, why? And he was like, oh, I spray every single one of my trucks down twice a year with engine oil. I drain it out the truck, I'd spray it under the truck with a garden sprayer. And I was like, why? He's like, it's rust proofing.
What?
Yeah. No, and I'll be honest, the underside of his truck, not a lick of rust on it.
Really?
And he said he's been doing that since it was brand new. 2017, I mean, it's only 8 years old at this point, but yeah, not a speck of rust. I was like, I feel bad for his mechanic, which was me. He was having to work on the thing just soaked in oil and grease and dirt. But yeah, so just going into things with an open mind is what I would say. You know, don't think you're a know-it-all. Be okay to ask questions and read the manual. Don't always trust internet torque specs, please. Like, get an OEM manual, buy it online. It's like if they're telling you to tighten a 6mm bolt to 100 foot-pounds, it's probably not right. I didn't want to say this earlier, but you know, you gotta have common sense and some brains to work on trucks. If you're gonna make stupider mistakes like that, then it might not be for you. Diesel mechanics are fun. They are fun to build. They sound cool. They're fun to drive. I mean, I've got a couple different trucks that we've built, and fun community to be a part of, so to speak. All here to help each other learn. Yeah, we race against each other, but you know, at the end of the day, we're all in it for the fun, not trying to prove one person's smarter than the other person. But I mean, I think that covers the basics on, you know, getting into the diesel industry, basics of your diagnostics, and just go into things with an open mind. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, I'm all about teaching people how to work on their trucks too, within reason. I'm not gonna come to your house and walk you through step by step on how to put a turbo on your truck, but you know, I'll give you some pointers, tips and tricks, but hey, I'm still pretty busy too, so I can't do that for everybody. You know, I'm not all for going on YouTube and watching videos, but fortunately, a lot of the better names in the industry are putting out some quality videos, tutorials, and walkthroughs and instructions, like turbocharger stuff. I know KC Turbos has put out a lot of information, and we're slowly working on getting some information out like that too. You know, YouTube is not always a bad idea. Just be careful who you're listening to. I think that pretty much covers everything on how to be a diesel mechanic in 2025. Thanks for watching our channel, and if you like this content, make sure to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you think there's something else that should be added to our how to be a diesel mechanic list in 2025. Again, be sure to check out some of our other pages too. We post a lot of little short videos on our TikTok, Instagram, and things of that sort. We're gonna try here in the next, couple months to get out some content on individual repairs on trucks, tutorials, explanations of how systems and how components work. If there's anything else you want to see us make a video on or specific repairs, we'll make sure to make a note of it. We'll put it on our list, and when the next one comes in, we'll make sure to include that. So thanks again for watching, and have a great day.